This podcast was brought to you by Nelson Construction out of Baltimore. Contact them at 443-314-4937.
I'm an Atlanta City Council member. I can give you a card so you can read that.
How long have you been a council member?
This is the end of my first term, so 4 years now.
Oh, really?
I'm for re-election, but nobody's running against me, so I'm...
Oh, so you're just going to just ease
right
on...
in.
Right.
Yeah. No, everybody else has got people running against... 60-something people are running against everybody.
Right.
Nobody running against me.
So how did you end up getting into this? Because when you and I met, you were in the furniture industry, but you were also, you had a full-time job because you guys were just starting the furniture store. But what were you doing? Because you were like...
I'm an engineer, but I was always my neighborhood president. So I was over my neighborhood, then I was over the little, what they call NPUs, neighborhood planning units, which is multiple neighborhoods. And I just kept growing. So since I was like 10th, 11th grade, I said I wanted to be mayor of Atlanta.
Is that still a goal?
Yeah, it's still a goal. That will be the goal. You know, mayor, senator, maybe president of the United States. Who knows? I'm getting a little long in the tooth.
Well, by the time you get to that point, maybe America will be ready for another black president. This is very personal work for me.
Politics.
I believe I was called to tell my story, use my voice, be a voice for the community, to speak to and for a community of people that's been ignored, denied, overlooked.
Religion.
This is my life's work.
Religion.
I want to use words to uplift, heal, inspire, encourage.
Do something different. Every Monday at 10.
Good day, thinkers, thought leaders, progressives, and dreamers. I'm Craig the Writer Stewart, and this is So Much to Say. These are my thoughts in my voice on black shit, white shit, gay shit, and everything in between. I wanted to talk to you about gentrification. What are your first thoughts when you think about gentrification? Do you think there are cons to it, or do you think they're just pros?
Oh no, gentrification definitely has a significant amount of cons to it. So the pros and the cons, they matter depending on your perspective. If you're a gentrifier, you see the benefits. Right. You get to get land less expensive. You get to come into some communities that you get to have some leadership, some say. You get to kind of impact change, and then hopefully things will go your way.
Now, when we say gentrifier, we're not just talking about white people, because anybody can be a gentrifier. But I think typically when we think about gentrification, we think about white folks coming in to urban areas, black communities, and taking over.
That is the typical perspective, particularly since you have Brooklyn as an example. You have D.C., which used to be Chocolate City, so you have that as an example. And then you have Atlanta, Georgia.
Listen, I was just in D.C. a couple months ago, and I said, I was saying this to a couple of my friends. We had gone to brunch. And we had parked and we were walking through the neighborhood. And I said, you all ought to be ashamed of yourselves. This city was called Chocolate City. It's now more like Mocha. You know what I mean? I saw more white women walking around, more white men running with dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, like neighborhoods that were rough.
Right.
Because, I'm from Maryland.
Yeah. And so the thought is that the reason why it's a pro and a con is you don't necessarily want the old behavior in the community, but you don't want to displace the people.
Right.
So basically, gentrification is, so let's just break the word down. You got gentrification, the root word is gentry, which means citizenship. So it's basically, providing more people into a particular area. Not a bad thing. Some of these areas have abandoned homes, abandoned buildings, abandoned businesses, all that stuff. And so that blight is what allows for crime, allows for disinvestment, no grocery stores, and
drug activity,
hopelessness, homelessness, all those things come about because the environment has now just degraded to less than substandard conditions. And so to bring those conditions up, you need new people. Businesses like to have customers, right? So that's why you need new gentry, therefore gentrification. So it's all good if they're going into abandoned spaces that people have left, and they come in and they help out, whether they white or black. I can be a gentrifier. But It's bad when they move out Miss Jones, who's been there for 40 years, and she's still living in her house, but you've come in and you've preyed upon her, not P-R-A-Y with the good hands.
P-R-E-Y.
P-R-E-Y, not with the Lord, but with some, commerce. When you come in and pray on her and say, Miss Jones,
you got to go.
You got to go. I want your house. And she's like, I'm not selling. And no, you got that tarp on your roof, so that means you're in code violation. I got that tarp on my roof because I can't afford to fix this roof. It cost me $18,000 that the man say to fix this roof. Well, you got a tarp on your roof, and our neighborhood don't need to have that blue tarp on the roof because that's a code violation, so you need to go on and move. I got, here you go, Miss Jones. Here's $50,000, $60,000 for this home. She say no. He say, you got to go. She sends the code enforcement people on you. She sends the community association on you, which the gentrifiers have started. They now are the president, the vice president, and the secretary.
In those neighborhoods.
And they now set the rules. You can't have your house unpainted for this long. You can't have that car parked on blocks on the street.
But aren't those like, couldn't a person look at that as tactics to reclaim, if you will, those neighborhoods?
Exactly. And so it's a positive and a negative. I don't want to live next to somebody who got their car sitting on blocks and who got a tarp on their roof, but I also don't want Miss Jones, who's been there for 40 years, to be displaced. So that's why you got the pro and the con. These men, these investors are coming from China, they're coming from Vegas, they're coming from Texas, they're coming from everywhere, and they're saying, I want your house because I can buy it for $60, I'll put $40 in it, I'm at $100,000, and now I can sell that thing for $250.
Exactly.
And so that's
so what's the common ground? What's the common ground? Because there's a difference between gentrification and revitalizing.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like we just need to revitalize some of these neighborhoods, bring back businesses into those communities, redo some of the houses. Aren't there like grants that people can get to redo their house where they don't have to lose? So if Miss Jones has a fucked up tarp on her thing, she can just go ahead and get it repaired because she gets an $8,000 or $10,000 grant from the city.
You are bowling down my lane, young man.
Okay, well speak to me.
I created a policy along with others that gives Miss Jones up to $25,000 to stay in her home.
Now, how does Miss Jones find it?
So let's talk about that because this is really the conversation. So one, we created a policy. It takes money to do that. So we have incentivized for-profit and non-profit construction companies and repair companies. Instead of, like a typical 1,200 square foot house might take you about $15,000 to $20,000 to replace a roof. We said, come on, we got to get some Home Depot help. We got to get these costs down. So we can do it for about 10 or 12 with volunteer labor and supplies. We also want to get her a new HVAC unit. She, it's $300 to heat her house, and it ain't but 1,200 square feet. Why? Because her windows are drafty. HVAC unit is 30 years old. So we're going to get her all the new things that'll help keep her energy costs down because that's a cost. She's on fixed income. That's a cost too. So we get her back to where she can function. Get her a $80 a month, $100 a month heating bill instead of a $300 a month heating bill. Get her, hey, she wasn't a senior when she moved into this house. So now we got to get the arm rails, the things for when you go into the bathroom or shower. She needs that so she don't slip and fall. She's been avoiding using the tub you got to step over. So we do all that up to $25,000.
So what are the qualifications? How does Miss Jones find it?
So Miss Jones, this is the reason why I said it was a conversation because that was good that we came up with it. So the first thing we did, because I came up with this and we were so happy, you send out what you do. You send out pieces of paper in the mail to all the seniors. We got all their addresses and you send it out. Crickets. They don't respond. Maybe one or two.
Now, do you think they're not responding because they're just thinking it is just junk mail and they're not reading it? Like,
I think that is so we asked them. It was because we did get to the end of the rainbow to where we found out how to reach them. But to get to how you have to learn, you have to know folks.
That's what I was going to say.
So when you first send a thing in the mail, they think it's junk mail and they think it's everything else they done got that's trying to take my house. We buy houses.
Because people are actively sending letters saying, listen, I want to buy your house. So they're assuming that's what that is.
That's exactly what happened. and they've been thinking that you one of them. You just trying to take my house.
So how did you reach it? Because if Miss Jones is 91, she's not on the internet probably.
She is probably.
So you can't email her.
You can't email her.
So did you go knock on door to door like you guys did when you campaigned? Did you do that?
So let me tell you, that's what we had to get to. So we went to
look, and then you go down to Miss Jones's church on Sundays like y'all did when y'all campaigned.
That's right.
And then you go down there to Wednesday. What's it called on the services on Wednesday?
Bible study.
But what they call it on service on Wednesdays? Wednesdays they call it. See, I don't go to church. I pray every night, but I don't go to church. They call it prayer noonday.
No, noonday.
Okay, go down to noonday.
Yeah, you got to go.
And you go to church. You supposed to figure that part out. Okay, so go ahead. So how did y'all reach Miss Jones?
So because we some busy somebodies, I didn't go directly myself. I came up with a program, so I said we need to send some people. So we sent some interns.
Right.
They don't have the vernacular. They knock on doors,
but they don't know how to communicate.
And they got maybe 5 or 10 seniors to bite out of 800 or 500 instead of hitting. But the seniors is like, I don't want you. What you talking about? I'm not answering this door. What you trying to sell me?
Right.
I ain't coming to the door. You gonna knock me over my head.
Right.
What you want?
Because typically when somebody's coming to your door, they're not coming to offer you anything. They're coming to sell you something. I want to get you a subscription of this newspaper. You know what I mean? I want your vote. Or who's your power company? We're trying to get you to switch over.
All that.
Yeah.
So then eventually, me and some gray hairs and some deep voices and some southern tones and some sweet tea had to show up to the door. Miss Jones, hey, what you want? Hey, we're just going to come talk to you for a little while. This is the city of Atlanta. This your councilman, Dickens. Who? Andre Dickens. You know the boy that was that went to Mays High School, Georgia Tech. Miss Jones, you the one. Now, Miss Jones, I remember you. You don't remember me? I don't know. I'm over at Antioch. Where you at? I went when I was coming up. I was over at Ben Hill. Now I'm at Antioch. Oh, Cameron. Pastor Alexander? Yeah, that's my pastor. Okay. Well, what you trying to talk about, Andre? Well, if you come outside, Miss Jones want to talk to you. She opened the door, and at least we talked through the screen. She see you. You got your City of Atlanta shirt with the badge, the symbol on it. You got some nice, sweet tea. You got to talk to these people.
Right.
And maybe even, when you're walking up and down the street, other folks are like, what y'all doing over here?
Right.
You say, hey, how you doing?
So then you
what you doing? Why you bugging Miss Jones? Miss Jones is a senior citizen. She don't need to be tied up with your foolishness. I know, but we trying to help her out. Well, what you trying? And so you got surrogates on that block that'll say, Miss Jones, look, they good people.
So when it was all said and done, how many people did you get to get qualified?
So in 1 year, after knocking on all these doors, we got about 30. Okay, we got about 30, and we did their houses, and you had to go through all this. Now,
and they can get up to 25,000. Not each person got 25,000.
Yeah, because you didn't have 25,000 worth of work.
Right.
But if you needed up to 25, we got you up to 25, and then what ended up happening, if it needed a little bit more to finish the job or whatever, we still completed whatever.
So what were the qualifications? You just had to be a senior citizen.
Senior citizen. You had to own your home. You can't be found out that
no reverse mortgages.
No reverse mortgages. We found out some Miss Joneses been living in their houses for 40 years and they still ain't the owner. They been paying rent to Mr. Wu, that like some Asians or somebody like that. Not the stereotype, but it's been somebody else.
But they had a landlord, right?
But we done grew up in this house. Yeah, she paid rent. She been paying rent for 40 years. You don't qualify. I got to come up with another program for you because this got to be your house. Okay. Because we do not allow you to flip out of it.
Right.
So you got to stay in this house for 5 years.
So if you get a grant. You redo your house or do whatever upgrades. You can't then flip the house and sell it. You have to stay in it for 5 years. So what kind of checks and balances are in place? How are you going to know if I sell my house or lease it? Well, you coming back to check?
We do a soft second mortgage on it. Soft second, zero cost to the mortgage, but it's on your deed. So you got Bank of America or Wells Fargo in the first position. The City of Atlanta's in the second position. Before you go sell, they got to come call us.
Well, no. Suppose I don't sell. Suppose I just go ahead and turn it into an Airbnb, or I go ahead.
Yeah, we really don't have no way of knowing.
Okay.
That.
So the only way you would know is if I tried to sell it.
Yeah, but you Miss Jones, you over 65 years old. It's gonna be hard for you to within 5 years clear everything out, Airbnb it. I mean, they could game the system, but hopefully they don't. I mean, and I've gone and checked on a few of them, and let me tell you, the first man that got it, this man was 71-ish years old, had a liver or kidney transplant. I can't remember. Liver or kidney transplant. Been living in that community for like 30, 40 years, raised kids and everything. Mm-hmm. I'm walking through the house and we checking it out. And okay, all right, we're going to get you hooked up. And the contractors do the work over about 3 months, get it done. And I come back and it's a beautiful thing. This man's so happy. Mm-hmm. He is delighted. Talked to him. WSB came and videotaped him. Mm-hmm. So one day I'm in a grocery store.
How long does the work typically take? Or it just depends on what they're getting done?
Yeah, it depends on what they're getting done. And you moving around a senior citizen. You can't be too much, too fast on it.
Right.
And you got to schedule all this stuff because it's volunteer labor. It ain't always the fast.
So do you have to be a senior?
You got to be a senior for that because we just don't have enough funds for every low-income household. Man, so I'm at the grocery store because this is why you do it. You do it for economic reasons because this person will get displaced, and you need to have seniors in the community. They got us to where we are. Right. But you also, for the culture, for the character of the community. Mm-hmm. If everything is millennials, then you don't have this history and this transfer of knowledge. I'm in the grocery store. That's now new grocery store, gentrified area.
Can we say where it is? Go ahead.
It's in Atlanta on the Beltline. So his house is a threat because he owned the Beltline, back door up against the Beltline. You go through.
So this man whose house
he been there forever. He is on the Beltline. You walk through his woods, and next thing you know, you on the Beltline.
So his property value about to skyrocket.
It already has, and he can, now the second project we got to come up with is tax. Freezes. How to keep the tax freezes because his property taxes are going up. We didn't increase his taxes. His property value is going up.
Right, but doesn't he qualify for a tax freeze because he's a senior citizen?
He gets a tax break, but not a tax freeze.
Why doesn't he get a tax freeze?
Because Georgia doesn't allow tax freezes. Not yet. That's why we got to push for a tax freeze.
So
you have a tax exemption.
So what's a tax break?
Tax break is up to $40,000 off of your assessed value. Is what a senior citizen gets
in a year.
That year. So basically, if your house is worth $100,000,
right,
the tax assessor already for any property assess you only at 40% of your tax value. Me, young, old, 40% because they, so your house is really $100,000 house. Mm-hmm. They say, well, we're gonna say your property value is worth $40,000. If you're a senior, that means you got a $30,000 homestead exemption plus a $10,000 senior exemption. You basically pay zero in taxes. So that's
great. Just for a year.
That's each year. Every year. Okay. Every year you get your property gets assessed. But now young Gunner that worked for Google, he come and he buy the house next to you and he flip it. He take it from $100,000 house to now he done put the new in there, the Viking, the chandeliers, and the whatever, and now it's worth $280,000, $300,000. Mm-hmm. You next door to him, your property is now worth $150,000.
Correct.
You now at $150,000. You didn't ask for your house to be $150,000.
But that's one of the dangers of gentrification.
That's the downside to it. Right. It's the upside for the young folks.
Right.
When I'm 30 years old, I want to see my property value go from $100,000 to $150,000 in 2 years. Woo! I got $50,000 in equity. I can do something with it. Mr. Jones, he ain't trying to leave his house. He trying to just stay there till he die. So this $50,000, his income ain't changed. His income hasn't changed.
So that's another way that he can lose his house because then he can fall behind in his property tax.
Because young Craig done got a good podcast and now he making $1 million.
And he popping.
Mr.
Jones, I'm sorry, but you got to go.
I live next door to you. I want to move by the house next door to you.
So what happened with the man who's on the Beltline? You see him in the grocery store.
I see him in the grocery store. Well, I hear him in the grocery store. He says, Andre. Is a good, sweet Southern black man voice, and I'm looking around, and I see, and it's a whole bunch of store.
Your name.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of store stuff between me and him. So I can't get to him, but he just gave me that wagging finger and a smile and like, thank you. I knew what he was saying, but he was telling me, thank you. Look at where I'm at. I'm shopping in here.
Right.
I done walked out. I done did my transaction. I'm walking in the other direction. It felt good to me to be able to keep him there so he can shop at this nice new grocery store and be in his home.
Right.
And people all around him are new, young, hip, got new, all kinds of new organic stores and Pilates, and you can get all the Chipotle you want, all this new, hot. And he get to benefit from that activity because he laid the groundwork. He lived along that belt line when it was nothing but a dusty trail.
But, but I want to focus. I think that's a great story.
Yeah.
That's a great story for Mr. Jones. But think about all of the people who live in communities and have been there, like you said, have been there for decades.
Yeah.
Case in point, right here in Summer Hill, my friend Angela has a neighbor. The woman is 91 years old.
Wow.
She is not in one of the newer houses. She's in one of the old-looking houses. She was born in the house, in one of the bedrooms. This podcast was brought to you by So Much to Say, a book of quotes, available now at www.craigthewriterstewart.com. Also available on Amazon.com and all e-readers. So to the point that we were making earlier, she's been getting literature in the mail for decades.
Yeah.
We want to buy your house. Can we buy your house? That whole thing. She hasn't sold the house. She doesn't want to sell the house. She has children. She has grandchildren. Now, from what I understand, they told me that she has a freeze on her property taxes. But what you're saying is it's probably not a freeze because you said Georgia doesn't have
Yeah, I don't think
freezes.
she has a freeze. She probably just hasn't reached a point to where it's significant in terms of. But was that this year? Because I know this year the property.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
we just did these. The Fulton County Commission just did a new property assessment. Just about every piece of property in Atlanta got a 20 to 25% increase in their property value,
tax.
which means a 20% increase in their property taxes.
Right.
And so if you on fixed income, you can't really come up with that too swift. So I think we need to come up with a policy that freezes or reduces the amount of increase that you can have. Hey, no more than 5%.
Right.
Something like that. I can manage to find 5%. I can't manage. My house went up 48% by their assessment, which meant that my
But you're technically in Buckhead.
Yeah, but I'm still saying $2,000 in taxes per year double. I mean, I went from $5,000 in taxes to $7,500 in taxes. That's another $200 a month,
Right.
that I would have had to come up with. But then they rolled it back because everybody was hemming and hawing.
Right.
But the point is, we need to have a cap on that because everybody ain't Miss Jones. That's 91.
Right.
That's bad when we displacing Miss Jones, but it's also bad when we displacing the bank teller. The
Right.
bank teller just living. She make $35,000.
Well, again, to that same point, this woman who's 91, a couple of her children live with her. I don't know how many people live in the house, but her granddaughter lives there as well. She works for the courthouse. She has a good job, but one of her points to me was, I can't even move out if I want to because I can't afford to. She said, so that's part of the reason why and she's 37. That's part of the reason why I'm staying at my grandmother's house. So what she said to me, though, the granddaughter, in that neighborhood, in Summer Hill, they have these houses that are $250,000 or up to $300,000. But again, like I said, this lady's house is not one of those houses. She said to me that there were several people that came in, investors came in trying to buy out these houses. Sometimes they were $16,000. She said the most she saw one go for was $30,000. And then they flipped these houses. So they giving $30,000 to somebody black because this was a black neighborhood.
Absolutely.
It's right adjacent to Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh community in Mechanicsville.
I'm over there. Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
What she said to me was, oftentimes these black folks will take $16,000 or $30,000 because that's the most money they've ever seen at one time. And then they'll take it and go into a Section 8 apartment where they're only paying $30 a month for rent.
Right.
But then that is so. In some instances, we're giving away the property.
And so it's terrible. If you black or brown in this city and you got some land, you own some, sit tight. Call somebody, Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers Foundation, Legal Aid, before you give up your house.
Right.
People are taking God ain't made no more land.
That's it.
Atlanta is what it is. It's dirt, and that dirt is valuable. You need to stay on it.
Right.
Even if because I've seen.
And that's in any city. That's not.
Yeah.
I mean, because I lived in California, and I'm telling you, they are doing that right now in the Crenshaw district.
Yeah.
There were so many black-owned businesses in Leimert Park.
Yeah.
Black-owned businesses, but to your point, like you said earlier, this senior citizen or whoever it was lived in that house for 40 years, but she was renting from someone. Same kind of scenario. All of these black-owned businesses were renting in the Leimert Park area. Been there for 15, 20 years. When they increased the rent, these black business owners had to move their business because they couldn't afford the rent.
Yep. And what's happened to seniors in some of these cases, two things that's real bad. I've seen cases where these guys come in and buy your house for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. And and Big Mama been saying, I'm not gonna take your money, not gonna take your money. I like my neighborhood, my church right around the corner. I know where I can get my medicine. I know it's her environment. When you 90, you kind of you like where you gonna go.
Your little 5 mile radius.
Your 5 mile radius. Mondays I go here, my doctor over there, my this is over there, my church over there. And so then what you gonna do with this $50,000 or $40,000? What you gonna do with that? You can't buy nothing else because ain't nothing else around here worth that you're gonna buy for 40 or 50.
Right.
And you're going to end up being way in the outskirts, way far, away from rapid transportation, away from your church, away from your family, and it's going to hurt you psychologically, emotionally. You're going to be way out in the suburbs somewhere in a low-rent apartment and maybe even Section 8. And then the other thing that happens with you is everybody around you got your nephew or that son, that grandson. He got a car note that he behind on, so you gonna help him out. Somebody else student loans about to get, you help them out. Somebody else about to go to jail, you help them out because you Big Mama. Everybody coming to you now. When all you had was your house and your little $600, $700 check coming in every month, it was only so much they could get from you.
Right.
But when you sold that house and you got 50, they gonna nick you down just like the football players, just like everybody else. When you got cash in hand, we all know what cash in hand feel like. It goes so fast. I've seen it, and we try to tell people don't sell, because not only are you not getting true value, you also aren't used. You just aren't used to having $40,000-$50,000 in cash,
time.
And then you end up being without it. And then in 4 or 5 short years, you're in a real messed up situation because you don't have your house.
I mean, so what is the solution for people who are living in neighborhoods that are slowly becoming gentrified, who may be in a tight spot? You know what I mean? They may not have the money for their property tax. Is there some sort of a program that will help people?
Yeah.
And what's the turnaround time for it? Because I mean, there may be a program.
Yeah.
But you don't have to usually pay your property tax right away because usually
you pay the property taxes come out once a year.
Right.
Now, if you still have a mortgage, they put it in your mortgage every month, so it comes out part of your mortgage, so it feels like rent. The best solution for all this is we have some programs. They're rarely times every citizen that's in need is usually first come, first serve. So I got a waiting list on my repair program. It's probably like 50, 60 people on the waiting list right now.
And you guys have a budget, a certain amount of money.
You only got a certain amount.
Year?
Right, it's only a certain amount per year that I can pull from this place, that place.
So do you guys have like a certain amount that you're going to award each year?
So the first year was $750,000, which is why we did about 50 times 25. That's why it ended up being about that number. Then we re-upped the next year, and we did like right now we're working off of a 2-year for $2 million. So it's about $1 million per year.
Right.
And I mean, this money comes from the taxpayers. It's not falling out of the sky. So I can't say I'm gonna do $50 million because we don't have that. It's got to come. We have to, do that and pay the police and pay the fire. So you got to, reasonably do what you can do. But the thing that helps with all of this, man, and this is critical for your listeners in Atlanta, for your listeners across the world, is to really be in community. We have moved, and this is going to sound like a circumventional way to get there, but hear me out. We have moved from porches to basements. We just hang out in our basements. We hang out. We come in. We drive into our garage. We close the curtains, and then we do what we do in our place, and then we go back out the door and we go on our job. Rarely are we now engaging in real community. Can I borrow some sugar? Can you come watch my kid? Hey, I got a flat tire. Can you help me out? I made some extra large spaghetti. You want half of this? I need some butter. I'm taking 3 kids to the zoo. I know you got that little boy. He about 6. Can I take him with me?
Right.
We don't do that. So there's no trust. And there's it's a limited amount of trust and a limited amount of engagement where we would know Miss Jones is in trouble.
Right.
Everybody used to know, that guy in trouble because he's drinking again.
Right. So if you're in trouble or in danger of losing your property because of property tax, there's probably some sort of a program that can help you?
There are programs that can help you because rarely, if you are Miss Jones, your property taxes ain't but like $500 a year. So we can find $500. You move from $400 to $500. That's killing you. It's not going to kill the federal.
But what if it was me and I'm not Miss Jones? What if it was me?
Yeah, your home, if you got a $100,000 home, $200,000 home, and you're an able-bodied young man, you probably paying like $1,200, $1,500 a year in taxes.
So I would have to be a senior citizen for y'all to help me?
Right now, yeah. But we have legal aid and we have some other nonprofits that we kind of help get you through. The actual government.
What does that mean, get me through? Y'all gonna help me with my property tax or
help
what?
you with your property tax, help you to negotiate and debate that with the county. Because those things are handled by the county. We just get our share. So we help you fight that increase. We help you negotiate. These nonprofits that we pay, we pay them, and then they deal with everybody. Like I said, the Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers, Legal Aid Society, and some other people like that. We help as much as we can. Now, we also need to get the property taxes. We don't want everybody running to the door saying, I can't pay, I can't pay. And then we talking about why the street lights out.
Right.
You know, and we talking about
why that pothole.
Why that pothole and why y'all garbage.
Well, speaking of potholes, y'all, listen, there's plenty of potholes around this city. So if y'all collecting all this tax money, I'm going to need a few more of these potholes to be sealed up.
Now, look. If we have a goal of every 3 days is a turnaround for a pothole. That's what it's supposed to be.
Well, I've got some potholes that...
Have you reported it, Craig?
Well, listen. No, I haven't. Well, what's the number for people to report it?
311. Call 311 and report it. That should be your next segment. So we're going to tell everybody call 311.
Call 311 in the city of Atlanta.
And it's supposed to be 3 days for potholes.
Well, isn't it 311 anywhere else? Not maybe outside of the country,
well,
but
I don't
people...
know. A lot of cities have 311.
Right. So call 311 in Atlanta. It's 3 days for them to turn it around.
A pothole.
My thing is for a pothole. Yeah. Now my thing is if I get if it messes up my wheel in my car, y'all gonna help pay it?
We sure do.
Who I gotta call for that?
You call. Well, you can start with 311. They'll tell you the number to send your picture of your thing, your receipt. Every 2 weeks, I run the Public Safety Legal Administration Committee. Every 2 weeks, we are paying $400, $500, for busted tires from potholes. Right. Metal covers. When we cover those metal plates, they're supposed to only be there for 1 day, and I know it's been there so many more days than that. Metal plates are supposed to be on there for like 24 to 48 hours because all they're doing is sealing the asphalt. Right. And you're supposed to pick them up. If that thing busts your tire, that's on us.
Oh, I'm
sidewalk. I had a lady that got. I ain't trying to get y'all out here suing the city for frivolous stuff, but a lady walking on the sidewalk, a manhole cover, she just fell in it, broke her leg.
Oh, I knew I could sue for that.
$50,000 in damages, because she fell on her face, got cracked, something or another.
Oh, wow.
So I see those things.
So what kind of proof do you need for something like that, though?
Man, I thought we was talking about
I was going to come back. Okay, let's go back to gentrification. Okay, so here's what the point that you were making earlier about when the gentrifiers come into these neighborhoods. And again, when I think about gentrification, my mind often thinks of white folks coming into black communities. But of course, that could be black real estate investors as well. But when I think about gentrification, I think about white folks moving into black neighborhoods because you've absolutely seen neighborhoods just completely turn.
Absolutely.
I mentioned D.C. earlier. I go to New York. I mean, I'm talking about in Bed-Stuy.
Yeah.
You see more white women pushing strollers and white men running dogs at night than you see little black children.
And Inglewood now, Iwood.
And they try to call it Iwood.
And all these Brooklyn,
Exactly. So I remember in Baltimore, which is where I'm from, I remember when they imploded a lot of the housing projects downtown. And a lot of those people, those families that were living in those low-income houses were moved to the county. But they were moved to, like, black counties. Or black communities in Baltimore County.
Right.
And the apartments were literally overflooded. And part of the conversation was, well, they're just moving all those black people out there because now the white folks want to come back downtown and get all of that real estate and property on the water. And that's pretty much what you've seen happen. The neighborhood in Summer Hill that I was talking about earlier, where the woman was born in the house, she's 91 years old, exactly what you spoke about earlier, a lot of the white folks that have moved into that neighborhood are now running the community meetings.
They sure are.
And so my friend Angela lives over there, and so they have their meetings on Mondays. And there was this community meeting, and so you got the white folks, they're running the meetings, but we're attending. And so, the Universe Soul Circus, the Black Circus, was at Turner Field every year for I don't know how many years they've been there. Well, white folks moving in, now they have a problem with the tradition, quote unquote. Because this black circus has been coming to Turner Field since I've been in Atlanta, and I've been in Atlanta since '98. And so now they have an issue with the noise. And so, some of
this is gentrification. You telling the story.
Right. So some of the feedback from the black people, well, you should have done your research before you moved over here.
This was here before you.
This was here before you got here.
Yeah.
And so one of the other things is the Airbnb is becoming really big now.
Yeah.
And so homeowners in that neighborhood, they either rent out their house for Airbnb or a room, or they section off like their basement. Well, now what they're trying to do, the white people that are running these community leaders are trying to delegate or regulate, I should say, how many people can do Airbnb. No, this is not. First of all, this is not a condo. This is not that type of association. I own my house.
It's
free,
my house.
Right? and so the woman whose grandmother, I said she's 37, living with her 91-year-old grandmother. She was at one of the meetings, and she's timing up for him. She said to him, let me tell you something. We probably one of the only families in the neighborhood that own our house free and clear. Now, granted, their house isn't renovated, but they don't have a mortgage either.
Right.
And so it's like, how are you going to come into this neighborhood and tell us what we need to do? And so in that same meeting, she was telling me that one of the elders, one of the black women, posed a question, and the white guy who was running the meeting didn't want to have the conversation. He just kind of like shushed her, moved on to something else. And so then there was a black guy in the room. He said, first of all, let me tell you something. In our community, that's not how we speak to our elders, and that's not how you're going to speak to her. So I'm going to suggest that you answer her question. But it speaks to what you were saying before. It's like they come into the neighborhoods. Not only are they moving into the neighborhoods, but now they're trying to run the community. And it's like there are people in these neighborhoods that have been living there for decades.
Craig, man, you just articulated exactly that is the negative part of gentrification. The shutting down of someone else's voice.
Right.
The loss of voice. Now I can walk around with only $5 in my pocket, but I can speak and I can say something. But man, you take my voice away from me, oh hell about to break loose. I'm upset. You trying to take my culture, you trying to take the character of this community is changing. And I've had seniors tell me, Andre, I was at the meeting and it was just going so fast.
Yeah.
It was just going so fast.
Yeah.
I was I wanted to raise my hand and say, what y'all doing? Wait a minute. They got...
Not feeling heard.
Not feeling heard. You're trying to take something from me, not only economically, but in just my humanness, my who-ness is being robbed of me. When I wanted to say something in the meeting, but I felt threatened because y'all was pushing people so fast. I saw how y'all talked to the other man, and then I didn't even want to say nothing.
And then you got to think some of these seniors that are there may not have the education level, so they feel intimidated. Right. And so I was getting on my friend who lives in the neighborhood. She's like, well, child, I'm tired when I get off work. I said, you better get your ass to that meeting on Mondays. I said, because they've been in red line shit around here, and you won't even know what the hell happened.
Right. And dog parks preferred over basketball courts.
Absolutely.
Right? Oh man, y'all on them basketball courts. Y'all get to fighting, y'all get to arguing, y'all get to yelling.
Because white folks love their dogs.
Yeah, you got the dog thing. You got soccer maybe preferred over this. You got saltwater pool, and so now don't get me wrong, I like those things too, but I don't want this thing to mean that
to silence out everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
So many neighborhoods now are being developed.
Because that's a part of our culture. That's a part of who we are.
Part of who we are. So much of this stuff is all these new developments. When the last time you seen a playground built by a developer?
Yeah.
They now build dog parks,
right?
But not a playground. We don't want you to have no kids. Well, kids are a problem. They too loud. They too noisy. They erratic and unpredictable. Yeah. And so now we're young. So I kind of like but what happens is you end up being like, man, we just pushed out a whole population. That lady who got divorced, she needed to find a place to live, but she got 2 kids. So only place they can grow up now is in apartments that are way out and old. They still got swing sets, but most of their swing sets ain't getting renovated, ain't getting redone. The new apartments all around the Beltline. You tell me one new apartment building that got a playground. Nan, I'm going to tell you the answer right now. Yeah. But all of them got dog parks and saltwater pools. Right. Something about that on the individual 1-by-1 level ain't bad because, hey, I want to live in the thing with the thing. But
so what's the balance? What is the balance?
The balance is I'm requiring them time to now put in affordable units in every new development along the Beltline.
So what
that's
does
my
that mean?
policy that's going to have to, we're voting on it in council in a month. We're going through all the neighborhood associations, and we're trying to get them to agree that 15% of every development that's being developed.
When you say development, what do you mean? You mean apartments?
Yeah, apartments. Okay. I can't do it right now for rental. I mean, for condos, because condos have a different cost structure and a different whatever. But rental, all these new apartments, the Amleys, the Posts, the Camdens, all these things been popping up. All of them are luxury. All of them are high-end, $1,800 a month rents. And the challenge is, because you might got listeners all the way out in California, it's like $1,800. This ain't no problem for us. I'm in San Jose. It's $3,000 for 600 square feet. I hear you, San Jose, but your income is allowing some of that. I don't know if it's $3,000, but it's definitely your income. Right. The black households here in Atlanta, average income is $25,000. The white income in Atlanta is $80,000. Now, if you're at $80,000, you might, by hook or crook, figure out how to find $3,000 a month for rent. You shouldn't, but you might be able to pay for it. But $25,000 a year, you ain't got $3,000 per month for nothing, let alone for just rent. Right. So what we're talking about is this a way of just pushing everybody out that's low income, pushing everybody out that's in the service and working class? How you going to have all these hotels go up? All these people that work in the hotel, most of them make under $30,000. Yeah. It's only a few managers and chefs and things like that make more than that. So nobody that works in the neighborhood, nobody that works in these places can live near these places. You got high rises with Starbucks down low, with various little retail shops, the AT&T stores and all that kind of stuff. The man that works at the AT&T store can't live there. They can't live there. And then we wonder why we have traffic. We have traffic because you got commute from Gwinnett. People exactly commuting from an hour away. Right. So when I go to Buckhead, this council member, I speak the same language. I'm citywide. I represent Bankhead, Buckhead, Grant Park, Adamsville, all of it. When I go up to Buckhead, I tell them, you at Lenox, what's your biggest problem? We got crime and we got traffic. Well, one of your reasons why you got traffic is everybody that work in that mall, most of them make $30,000, $35,000. They can't live in your zip code. Right. So everybody that works at Lenox, everybody that works at Phipps, all them people that work in the Ritz, they work, all them secretaries and all them people working all them great restaurants, most, if not all of them, can't live in this zip code. Right. I think that's a travesty. That's why we need to have mixed income developments. When you build this high rise, you need to set aside 10 or 15% of these units for people that make under So is it kind of like a tax credit kind of thing? I give them a tax credit. I give the developers, we will be giving them tax credits to help them offset the difference in that cost. You want to charge $1,500, but you really I only want you to charge $800. And so there's a $700 delta that we got to make up. I'm going to give you some tax credits. I'm going to also give you some preferential permitting process, some speed, because time is money for you developers. I'm going to also give you density bonuses so that, hey, you want to build that thing 2 stories higher? Go for it. You can build a 2-story higher. To compensate for the money that they're offsetting. And I didn't invent this, Will. Right. DC has this now because out of force they need to. Montgomery County, Maryland has had this since the 70s. You grew up in Maryland. Montgomery County, Maryland, not PG County. PG is coming around. But Montgomery County, Maryland, if you grew up there, you would have been born going to school at the same school, even though your mama might be paying 30% less or 15% less in rent than you pay. But you wouldn't know that. And kids didn't know that. They were able to go to the same grocery stores, able to go to the same school, but they have had what they call inclusionary zoning, where every development that goes up has to set aside some units for the working class. Now here's the downside. Because there's always going to be a downside. And I think that sounds like good planning. Now, let me ask you this before I ask my question. How long does it take for something like that to go into effect? Like this thing where you're saying you're trying to get all those properties that are coming up on the Beltline to offer like a 15% concession. How long does it take for you to put that kind of a policy? So it's taken me 3 years to design it, and now we are right here. This month is the month where every neighborhood is voting for it. So 13 out of the 25 recognized neighborhood planning units, 13 have already agreed to it. I got 12 more to go over the rest of this month. And when is that vote coming up? The vote is coming up in November 9th. November 9th for all the what we call the zoning review board, and then the city council votes on November 15th. It will then become law 60 days thereafter, which means that if a developer is about to try to build something luxury, he better get going right now, get his permit now, because come about February. So you confident that it's going to pass? I'm pretty confident it's going to pass. And I've also worked with developers because I don't like to do stuff and, be adversarial. I say, developers, you've only developed for luxury.
But it's a win-win, though.
It's a win-win. They got another population they can cater to. And they're going to get this incentive.
Exactly.
They told me what they needed. I said, give me your pro formas. Give me your finances. Tell me what you think. Open up Pandora's box. Because if you leave it up to me, I'm going to just smack you with something hard. But I don't want to do that. Tell me what it needs to be. Well, Andre, we need a tax incentive that looks like this. They gave me one that was ridiculous. I said, well, I can't. That's magical. Can't do that. They say, well, we can't. We worked out some details. I give them a financial benefit and some non-financial stuff,
right?
Like
where they can build higher,
and which is financial long term,
right? Because that's still more units that you can fill. That's still more money.
That's still more money.
Okay, so now here's my question. Well, not my question, but I used to live. This was a long time ago when they first built Atlantic Station. I used to live in a unit over there. It was apartments.
Okay,
and they had a tax credit. Now, when I moved in there, everything was lovely. Lovely.
Oh, I know where you about to go. Go ahead.
You picking up what I'm putting down?
I'm picking it up.
It was lovely for about the first 2 years. Then that tax credit. When I tell you trash will be left in the hallway, you just won't even take your trash down to the trash chute. You just leaving the bag in the hallway like we got valet trash. Loud music outside my window in between the next building, 2, 3 in the morning, yelling, okay, girl, all right, see y'all later. I mean, music just blasting out of the car.
Yeah.
I mean, just that kind of nonsense. It just became so uncomfortable that I had to move. I had lived there for 2 years, and then going into, I think, that third year was when just things just got... So that's kind of like an exchange, and it's just like you want... And I know it's not everybody.
Yeah, because it's only 10% but 10% of a building can really mess up a building. Yeah.
Because, I mean, it was prime, right at Atlantic Station, like right there by that arc. I was living right there. And when I tell you I had to go.
They be talking loud.
Oh, my God.
And they always
yelling all through the hallways.
How do you get to party so much?
I got into it with this girl. She lived upstairs from me. She vacuuming 11:30 at night. Girl, you don't think I can hear that on my...
Yeah.
I go knock on the door and I'm trying to be pleasant. I'm like, hey, how you doing? You talk real low and soft and you smile. I said, I don't even know how to knock on your door and ask you this. I said, but do you think you could, maybe vacuum at a different time? Because it's I can kind of hear it. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I just want to keep my house clean. I mean, but I guess I can. All of this attitude. So it just got to the point that I had to just go to the leasing office because it was just too much.
Woo.
And I'm very respectful of people's space and that we're connected and that you can probably hear.
Yeah.
So there was a girl who lived below me. One night we had a conversation at some point, but I completely forgot that she had told me she had to be to work at 5:30 a.m. And so one night I was washing clothes. I think it was like 10 something at night, and she called me. She said, and sounded like she was dead. She said, Craig, she said, I was asleep. Do you think you can turn your washing machine? I said, oh my God, I completely forgot. And I turned it off, and that was it. But this chick upstairs, she just had to vacuum at 11:30 at night. I mean, it was but it got to the point that they had to speak to her, let her know that, you can't disturb somebody else's peaceful enjoyment of their apartment. So, I mean, I know.
So her income didn't do that, though.
No, her income didn't do that.
Her home training might have did that. Or her, life, something happening.
Lack of home training.
Lack of home training did that. But there are some indicators. Sometimes people... So this goes back to the first thing we said. We don't want the behavior, but we'll tolerate you.
But you can't really weed that out. I
don't want somebody to say I'm going to be ratchet just because I'm poor.
No. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is... if you're going to offer the tax incentive, sometimes that comes with the culture. That's a part of the culture. It's not always, but sometimes it is. I mean, so that's not something that you can really weed.
And the other thing is like with condos, you have a real problem, or like with townhomes and condos, because people are so used to renting, they be like, well, who gonna cut the grass? I mean, like the grass be high as all. When the landlord gonna cut the grass? You, the landlord, ma'am, sir. Right. Well, who gonna do this? Do that? No, that thing is your responsibility. That's your wash and dry. That's your, so at the education,
absolutely. Education. So at the base of gentrification, at the base of it, Do you think that is racism? Because I can sit here and tell you, as a black person, I'm unapologetically black, but there are some black folks that I don't want to live next to. Like the ones that I just told you about.
Yeah.
I don't need you vacuuming over my head at 11 o'clock at night, and I know that's not all black people.
Right.
But sometimes I think we charge white folks with racism.
Amen.
When it's not always racism.
No.
Sometimes it's just like, listen, they don't give a damn if you black or white.
Right.
They don't want all that loud ass noise.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I can empathize with that because I can understand that because, like I said, I mean, it was loud talking up and down the hallway some nights. And I'm like, where did this culture come from? I mean, it wasn't just the trash in the halls. You sat in your bag out there, and it smells like garbage in the hallway.
Yeah.
But it's like you hear people stomping. You smell weed in the hallways.
Ooh, I mean,
it just became so much. I was like, I got to go.
Yeah.
So, like, at the base of gentrification, and I don't mean just the the exceptions.
Yeah,
where I was talking about there are some white people. At the base of it, do you think that it is racism?
At the base of it, it is my way of life trumps your way of life. My way of life is better.
My way of life is more important.
My way of life is better or more important. So that's why I'm running this meeting. I'm going to tell y'all how we're going to do what we're going to do. I know y'all used to have the Kwanzaa, but we're going to have this. I'm going to tell y'all that y'all used to pray before the start of this meeting, this community neighborhood meetings.
Right.
No, Ms. Jones, you don't need to be praying at this meeting. This is business. Everybody don't sell. Everybody ain't. We atheists, so we whatever.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you that this meeting need to happen within an hour or so,
and we're gonna start on time.
Why you rolling up in here late?
Right.
Because we normally do this before we meet. Right. So there are some things that are my way is better than your way, and whether we call that racism, whether we call that y'all on CP time and I'm on this real, American Standard Eastern time, or whether it's so it may not be racism as much as it's just my way of life. The thought about racism is we'll call racism on a lot of stuff, but we be filed like, they gonna give me a notice because I already got my trash out here. When the white man got his trash out here, y'all both gonna get a citation when you do that. And if you up in this parking lot with your music too loud, if I was playing this and that, no, you loud. You're too loud. You playing trap music or if you playing rock and roll, it's too loud.
Because I don't want to hear that shit after 9 o'clock.
No, I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want nothing you doing to affect me and my
quality of
enjoyment.
living. Exactly.
Yeah, and I know I live in tight quarters, so some things like this or that.
Yeah.
But if you weed it out every day, if you just I'll tell you another thing that black folks we did to ourselves when we moved way out to Lithonia.
Oh, y'all love Stone Mountain and Lithonia.
Yeah.
Before I moved here, Stone Mountain was a legend.
So we did that, right? So we moved all these black folks move out there. And because we wanted to have the 5 cars and the 5 houses, bedrooms. We wanted all this land. We didn't want to see another individual human being. We wanted to be in our palace and invite people once a year to our Christmas and Thanksgiving and our birthday because we got it like that. Well, then your house, you paid $300 for it, and you and your spouse or whatever, y'all was hoity-toity living high in the hall. Everybody black in the neighborhood. Everybody's set, fine. Well, when the housing crisis came, y'all ain't nowhere near nothing. You ain't near no transportation.
No hospitals.
You're not near no hospitals. You're not near no job centers.
Grocery stores.
You might get a grocery store because we like to eat, but your property value dropped down to $200.
Right, from $300.
Now you stuck. And some of you bought the big mega. You bought $500. And that thing $280 now, $250. And you and the bank y'all got to fight every month. You and the bank are enemies because they still want theirs, and you holding on to yours, and you got a reputation, so you can't tell everybody you short sold or foreclosed and all that. But the white people didn't do that, and some other people didn't do that. They didn't go way out there. They mom and dad might have lived way out in Alpharetta, but the young pups, the young gunners, they moved into the city because they know being close to jobs is key. I don't want to sit in traffic an hour and a half every day. I don't want to be somewhere where I can't get back and forth real quick. I don't want to be somewhere where I can't go to a quality restaurant, see a play, see a show, get some good entertainment. You way out there and you catching DUIs every other month, right? Because you done have 2 drinks downtown.
Because everything that you do is in the city.
Everything you do is in the city. You got to pass 3 jurisdictions to get home. You got to pass by Atlanta police, DeKalb police, Lithonia police.
Right.
You know, and the state troopers.
Right.
You live in Atlanta, you drive up and down the street, you can walk home, you know, from where you live. So that quality of life is now important. Millennials, even empty nesters, seniors are moving into the city. They want to be close to activity. But you stuck out in Lithonia with a house that you $150,000 underwater.
Right.
You can't get out of that mess. And now the property value in the city is going way up, and you still out there in some property value that's not moving at all.
Right.
You stuck.
And
we did that to ourselves.
We have done some things to ourselves, but I don't want to paint this as, oh, well, we should be more like white people and do more, you know what I mean? Because I think we've done enough.
We don't need to do that.
Yeah, I think we've done it. And I think a lot of times we often compare our success. We have a white idea of what success looks like. And I think that looks different for us.
Yeah.
But I just think that at the belly of gentrification is white supremacy in a lot of ways. I really do. I think that it's a point where white folks have decided we now want to live back in this community, and we're coming back in this community, and we're going to take it by any means to get it. Whether it means raising your property tax and all of these loopholes, these legal loopholes that a lot of black folks aren't up on, even down to getting grant money to pay property taxes or to get not you said it was not called a freeze here.
Yeah,
but to offset your tax increase. Yeah. So I think that it's almost like, if you think about it, it really goes back to the beginning of this country. It's no different than how they came in and took the land from Native Americans.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Right.
It's just a fancy name now called gentrification.
Well, I'll tell you, it's we have to help make quality decisions. We have to fight gentrification, and we have to tell people to be smart and to stay in their homes. We have to tell people that in no city is it smart to give up land that you own. I don't care if you Detroit right now is coming back. Right. New Orleans downtown is coming back. So wherever the tall buildings are, wherever the all the new activity, you want to live near that.
And this has been going on for decades. I mean, this isn't new. This isn't new.
And when we say they is people with means, credit, and stuff like that. Those of us with means and credit, we need to put our ones and twos together, come together, buy stuff, buy these little 16-unit apartment buildings that's raggedy. There's some 16 units that's like $450,000, $500,000. You got some over in England Avenue, Vine City. You got some in Pittsburgh. Two people can put that stuff together. And you got they ain't number little 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and you can go in there and renovate them for another $100,000 or whatever, and you got you some long-standing income. Right. You can put some people in, and you ain't even got to charge no more than about $600-700 a month for the rent. Exactly. You can be a favorable landlord to them. They can be a good tenant to you. You peel off a couple $1,000s a month in profit, and you can live like that for the rest of your life. That's your retirement plan. You can buy 5 or 6 of them. And that's what we need to be doing at our age range. At our age range, we need to be putting 2-3 cats together and buying little properties like that. And so in the event that Miss Jones does get displaced, and Miss Jones, we got you. Our ecosystem is sufficient enough to support our own. Hey, Miss Jones, we got you. Come on over here. Give me your little $500, $600. I got a spot for you. I don't know if it's racism, but I know it's wrong. I
mean, I definitely think that it's unfortunate. And I think that whenever you own property, that is like having money in the bank. Yeah. And I think that you always hope. But I think that oftentimes we, as a community, we often get caught in a crunch. And we sometimes take that cash option. You know what I'm saying? That cash. But that's the first step to generational wealth is owning some property. Yeah. I mean, like, as long as you have property, you'll always have a place to live. You can pass that down generationally. Yeah. And then, like, when those property values do increase, you can always pull from the equity in the property, as opposed to selling. Selling is not always your first option.
Right. We like that cash in hand, and that ends up sometimes backfiring on us because it's never enough. Right. So it's,
Are there any final thoughts, any last things that you want the listeners to know about gentrification, about your campaign that's coming out? Or this policy that you're putting into place? Yeah. Do you have a name for it so people know what to look for?
It's called mandatory inclusionary zoning. and it's on the belt lines. Mandatory, meaning they're going to have to do it. It's mandatory. Inclusionary zoning, meaning this zone means you have to include housing.
Low income housing.
Lower income housing. Call it workforce or affordable housing. And also, just for folks who say, and some people, even black people and lower income people say, we got enough low income housing around here. Well, just know that what's affordable today may not be affordable tomorrow.
Right.
It used to be affordable in Old Fourth Ward. Grant Park, when I was growing up, used to be affordable. West End,
right?
$400,000 houses in West End now.
I know.
So what's affordable today may not be tomorrow.
Right.
So just stay tuned. Same bad channel, same bad time.
But this policy that you're talking about in particular is going to offer like a certain percentage of.
That's right.
Lower priced properties in these luxury buildings.
Right. So and I made it so that they ain't all gonna be on the first floor facing the garbage can.
Right.
And they gonna be
right.
And they all don't have to be the little studios. Every bedroom 15 or 10% across every bedroom. Your 2 bedrooms, your 1 bedrooms, your 3 bedrooms, all of them are gonna have to have this. Right. So you can't just put all the affordable units on the back and the down and the whatever. It's gotta be interspersed, as we say. Right. And they have to be substantially similar in style or what have you. So you can't give me the janky white old refrigerator and then got stainless steel over there. You got to give me something decent, comparable. And so I know you got penthouses, so we ain't talking about chandeliers and all that, but you got to have a standard, right? And so that everybody don't walk into this thing saying unit 112 is the poor door. That's where the poor folks are, right? And so and you can't tell me I can't go to the swimming pool because I'm poor, right? Or not rich. Right. So I think that so Atlanta is moving in a direction, and we have to make sure that direction works for everyone. Right. Same things we see in other cities, we're seeing it in Atlanta. Our salaries, our income is not increasing at the level that keeps up with the rising costs of housing. And so we all have to look out for one another and understand that this city that I grew up in that had space for everybody is now not that case. And if you're in a suburb around Atlanta, be on the lookout. It'll be coming your way soon. Hateville, right here on the southern border of Atlanta, they're starting to see some prices increase because it's such a close commute right
So on November 9th, this is going to be the policy that's going to be in place on the ballot.
Yeah, it's not something for the citizens to vote for. Right. What's for you to vote for is on November 7th. Vote for me for Atlanta City Council Post 3.
But what's the policy thing? When is
November 9th is going to be when it's going to be voted on. Yeah.
So who's voting on that?
The council. The council
is voting on that. Yeah. Okay. All right, so keep your eyes and ears open for that.
Yes, and I'm your Atlanta City Council member at large. No one is running against me, so I will be reelected for 4 more years.
So in other words, he don't need your damn vote.
I need your vote because I need, I don't want you writing in Daffy Duck and and anybody else and causing me. You can write in, only allowable write-in is Obama. Anything else is a waste of ink.
Right, keep it to your damn self. Thank you guys for listening. This has been so much to say. Please share this podcast with your friends, your family, your network. You do not have to be in Atlanta because a lot of what we discussed on here applies in any metro city. Please share this with your friends, your family, your network. We're available on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play. Subscribe or follow. Do not forget. Be safe. Keep loving yourself.